All right, I'm going to make a video to show you how to add your guides, slice your images, and how to start your mockup. Because I know that there's a lot of extra steps we're doing here that we don't usually do. You could very easily go in, um, crop each one, not take a picture, but crop it because you know it's already the right size, save it, it would take you a really, really long time. So this, while there are a bunch of steps, it should take some of that pain out of, saving each little one individually. So um, if you didn't set your guides up at the beginning, you'll want to make sure that they are set up right now and that also you don't have any gutters because when we slice up all of these squares, if there's any extra guides in here, then it's going to give you extra pictures, which we don't want, and it'll give you gaps in between each one. So if we go down here to requirements under the project, view, new guide layout, 3 columns and 4 rows, 0 gutters. So that would be view, guides, and then new guide layout. And so here's where we're at. So you want to make sure columns, the number's 3, rows, the number's 4, and the gutter needs to have nothing in it. If not, you can go in and type 0 and then hit, or just move over. You want to make sure that there's nothing there. And then that preview should be on. I already have my guides, so it's not going to show anything different. And also I'm on a newer version of Photoshop, so if you see anything new and weird like these guys, then just ignore them. All right, so that's ready to go. So make sure when you're done at this point, you save it as a PSD to go in your folder. Also, you're going to need to save it as a JPEG because your client, which in this case is me, might not necessarily have Photoshop to open up all your work. Now we all know I do, but it's just good practice that you save one with all your layers for you, and then a JPEG or a PNG, something that's compressed, that doesn't have all these layers over here, that is a universal file format that anybody can open. And then the mockups that you're going to need are right here. You get to pick which one you do. They're kind of equally the same amount. So I just downloaded them. If I go to my downloads here, in just a second. We have this one and this one. This one has a couple more images, but it looks a little cooler. This one has like a couple less extra. So it's up to you. I'm going to go with this one, just since I know a lot of people in class were already going to use this one. All right, so this mockup has been built in Photoshop with layers using smart objects, which is, it's this little, if you look over in your layers panel, it's this little icon that looks like a piece of paper. And that's what we're going to work on for this next step. But before you do that, we need to go in and slice your image here and save it. And so that's also in the requirements. If you go to Slice tool, Slices from Guides, there will be a button that shows up, and then how you save it is underneath. Now, depending on what workspace you're set into, your slicer, call it, might not be showing up. It should be right here underneath your crop tool. And as you can see, mine is not there as well. So I'm going to go over here to the upper right-hand side of Photoshop. There's a little drop-down menu, or if you don't have that, there is one that looks like a rectangle. It looks like a mini version of the window you're in. And I'm going to go to Essentials. These are just different workspaces, if you can remember way back from a long time ago. Ooh, that looks fun. And all my tools are gone. Cool. This is always a fun time. Let's go to photography and see what happens now. Not there. It should be there for essentials. I'm not quite sure why my toolbar has disappeared and why this libraries looks really funky. You know what? I'm gonna reset. I'm gonna go to essentials up here and then reset essentials. There we go. All right, so now if I click and hold on that crop tool, the slice tool is gonna be there. So that's what I'm looking for. And you don't actually have to do anything with it. You just have to go up here to the top and there's a button that says slices from guides. So if I click on that, it creates this little icon up in the top of each square between your guides. So now it's sliced, but now we need to save it. So I'm going to go to File, Export, Save for Web Legacy, and I'm going to make sure it's set as a JPEG. So I'm going to go to File, Export, Save for Web Legacy. And up here, instead of GIF, we want that set to JPEG. And the other thing you want to make sure that all of your squares are selected. So I'm zooming out. I'm using the hotkeys, or you can go down here and zoom out with the buttons. I think they're all selected, but I always do this just to make sure. I draw a box around every image because I want to make sure they're all selected because I've done this before. And when I don't do that, sometimes it just saves one JPEG. I want to make sure all 12 are saved. So you might have to go back up here and go to JPEG again. Why? Because technology is super fun. And then I'm going to go down here at the bottom. I'm going to go to save. And this is one way that we save things for the web and make sure that it embeds all the color and is coded and everything is set and ready to go. It did this to me earlier. It said GIF, whichever, but it's still saved as a JPEG because I did tell it JPEG before. So we're going to ignore this right now. So if yours does this too in this Save As window, if it still says GIF, we're just going to ignore it. And then save it wherever you want it. I'm going to put it in downloads. You only need these squares for your mockup. You don't have to turn them into me. Although if it's me, I kind of put everything in one folder so I know where to find it later. But for right now, I'm just going to click save. And we shall cross our fingers that everything's a JPEG. Yay! So yeah, just ignore that second window and you'll be fine. And you can see here as I scroll down, it is saved all 12 of these images and they are ready to go. So now for the really fun part. I need to go here to the mockup. Let me close. I'm going to close some of these windows out really quick so I only have the original ones to show you. All right, so I have I actually don't even need this one, but I'm going to leave it up just so I can look at it, make sure I have everything laid out right. I'm going to show you how to start loading your images into these bottom squares because they're a little bit deeper than some of these other ones. And I know a lot of you were getting these top ones. It's the bottom ones that are tricky. So that are in the feed. So I need this first line up here. And if I remember where they're at, I'm going to use my my eyeball. So they're in this top layer. That's what I want, I believe. We're going to try it. So I'm going to double click on that smart guide. And hopefully you don't get this error. Some textures might need to be updated before they can use vector. Just click update. Sure. Why not? So what it did is it opened a second image. So you can see there's the original. And here is just that inside square of the phone. And so this is where, you can go in and change the username of the text. You all are actually pretty good at doing that. What I'm more worried about is these squares here. So, sorry, get a snorty dog. Okay, if you go down, what I actually want is this one, edit photo. I'm going to twirl open this folder at the very bottom here. It says edit posts. And I have all the lines here. So here's line 1, line 2, line 3, and then yes, even line 4. But if I twirl line 1 open, this is where I'm going to start putting in my squares. So this is square number one, square number two, square number three. And so what I need to do now is click on this smart object again, or double click. So I'm going to double click on that smart object, and it's going to open up another window. I know there's lots of windows. And now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to drag image one over here. Hopefully you should be able to do that too. And then the most important thing, I need to, put it in there so I don't see that bounding box around it. You can hit return. You can click the check mark at the top up here. And then you need to save it. Because if I go back and look at this one, it's still empty. If this is still empty and you brought it in here, it's because you didn't save. So I'm going to go to File, Save. And now if I go back here, look, that image is there. However, if I go all the way back to the final one, it's not there. It's because I haven't saved here. So File, Save, and hopefully now it should have updated all the way back to this one. And the reason why that these are built with smart objects is so that way you can update them at any time. And actually anybody can update them as long as they have access to this file. So, or if somebody wanted to change this image. So this one's good. I am just going to close this one out. Don't need that one anymore. But I do need to go back to this one because this is where my lines are. So here is post 2. And then I need post 2 in that folder. I'm just going to drag it down. We need to make sure that it gets applied to this layer and then save it. And then go back to this one, File, Save. And now it should be in the original all the way back here. Cool. I'm going to do it one more time so everybody can see how this looks. So I'm going to go back to the one where we can't see the background. It's just the inside part of the phone. I'm going to go down to post 3. I'm going to double click on the smart object. And then I'm going to drag number 3 in here. I'm going to apply it. You can either click this check mark at the top or hit the return key. And then I need to save it. Go back here. Oh, it already updated. Shouldn't have. We're going to save it again just to be safe because I saved it there. Now it'll be saved. Okay. Great. And you'll go through and do this for each row. And then, of course, go up here and change this to your company name up here. This is your whatever their profile picture is. You can even use the one they have. That's fine. Change this information. And once that's saved, all you need to do, I would save the PSD for yourself, just in case you need to go back and do any edits. But then all I need is the JPEG. And for this project, there should be a folder with everything inside. So the things that must be used inside here under the requirements are 12 squares, 1 square must use shapes. So your shapes that you've built, 1 square must use an image, 5 images and minimum. 1 square must use only type. So it has to be your type that you've typed in there. Sections, layer masking, adjustment layers, blending modes. So I need to see the work that you're doing to combine these images inside of your Photoshop file. And if I don't see that work, I can't give you credit for it. And then there must be, of course, unified design. So inside of this folder that you are putting on your OneDrive should be your PSD. And I'll go ahead and put another list down here. PSD with all your layers. So this version with all those layers so I can see everything. A JPEG version of it. So both a PSD and a JPEG, just in case. If for some reason your PSD file gets corrupt or something happens, which happens more often with larger files, I can at least look at the JPEG to grade from. One of the mockups saved, sorry, just as a JPEG. I don't need the whole PSD on that one. And then your original creative brief should be in there as well. So there should be 4 files total in this folder in your OneDrive that you submit right here to this last project. So good luck. You can do it. And if it's not working for you with the mockup, make sure you save, 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 save.